Hey guys, this is Nanavati to tell you about the best units for Orcs in Warhammer 40,000. Orcs are probably the most numerous and horde-based army in Warhammer 40,000, and the only reason they work is because they believe they will. So one of the things that makes Orcs tick is the fact they are a very shooting-based army, which is counterintuitive to what you may think, with an awesome ability to fight in close combat as well, while swarming the table and taking the objectives with board control. So how you do the shooting component to Orcs is starts with Lootas and the shock attack gun Big Mech. Lootas are typically taken in a bad wounds battalion with at least 30 grots to accompany them, 3 units of 10, and maybe a weird boy in a custom force field Big Mech. Those guys just need to go somewhere in your list when I'll cover that in a second. So 15 Lootas can pump out D3 shots every time they fire, but it's not D3 for each guy, it's D3 for the whole unit. So if let's say you roll a D3 and you get 2 shots, which is the average, your unit now pumps out 30 shots each, only hitting on 5s at strength 7, -1 and 2 damage each. That means the unit is basically 30 autocannon shots hitting on 5s. Orcs have a rule called Daka, Daka, Daka. That means for every 6 to hit they roll, it always hits no matter what the modifiers your unit's experiencing are, and you get to roll an additional to hit roll. You can use a stratagem for 2 command points called More Daka, which means you can make the Daka, Daka, Daka rule always work on 5s. That means your 30 shots are always going to be hitting on 5s, and for every 5 to hit you roll, you get to trigger an extra to hit roll. Not only that, but Bad Moon's Lootas specifically reroll all 1s to hit in the shooting phase. So if you work out the math, that means if you use more DACA and reroll 1s and combine the 2, you average a 55% hit rate on your 30 shots. That means this unit is going to shoot your 30 times and produce 16 autocannon hits. Space Marines don't even shoot that well. So with 16 autocannon hits, you can then fire twice with a showing off stratagem for 2 CP. Let's say you roll another 2 shots per guy for your unit, which will pump you up to 60 shots or 32 hits for your unit overall throughout your shooting phase. That's an insane amount of firepower. And forbid you roll 3 shots each and roll 45 shots every time you fire for 90 shots at a 55% hit rate for 48 hits. That's just insane firepower. That'll kill infantry and vehicles alike. Almost nothing in the game can survive being shot by Lootas turn after turn after turn. What keeps the enemy from shooting the Lootas back? Well, that's why you take so many grots. Grots are actually, as Orcs plan on using them, the meat shields for the Orcs. There's a 1 CP stratagem called the Grot Shields. That means if the grots are closer to the enemy, so just stick them in front of your Lootas, and within 6 of your Lootas, or whichever unit you're choosing to Grot Shield, on a 2+, the grots will take the hit instead of your Lootas. That basically means that your opponent can shoot the Lootas all he wants, but as long as you have grots standing in front of him, he's really just killing grots with toughness 4. That's fantastic. Another level of durability you can put into this unit is the custom force field Big Mech. This is a staple for pretty much all Orc armies, and all Orc armies should run him. You take him out of the index, the Orc index, since he doesn't exist in the codex, and just give him a basic guy with a custom force field for 75 points. This means all of your units completely within 9 inches of him are to have a 5+ normal save. If you've ever played against Orcs or with Orcs and you have 200 guys on the table with a 5+ vulnerable save, it really feels like you have 300 Orcs on the table from your opponent's perspective. That's really insane. This guy auto-include for all your detachments. That brings us to the shock attack on Big Mech as the last true piece of firepower for your Orc army. He is the most Orky unit in the game that you can possibly imagine. He is the definition of random. He fires 2d6 shots at 2d6 strength and d6 damage. You couldn't get more random than that if you tried. But there is an average to all the 2d6s there. So theoretically, he's an average of 7 shots at strength 7, d6 damage, and AP -5. So again, you can combine the fact that he's Bad Moons or Death Skulls in a certain list, another list, and give him either reroll 1s to hit or 1 reroll to hit, to wound, and damage roll if he's Death Skulls per time he shoots. He also is taken from the Dreadwog detachment from the Vigilus, which lets him spend an additional 2 CP to fire twice. So you can have your Lootas firing twice and this guy firing twice. And you can choose which will be more useful in the turn to give more DACA to as well. So he can spike really badly or really poorly because the dice are the dice. But on that one turn where you're shooting a Castellan, I've seen this guy pick up Castellans more time than I can count. When your opponent has a Knight and you roll 10 shots, strength 9, and roll a little hot on your to hit rolls, triggering more DAC a couple times, you're going to end up with 7 hits wounding on 3s, -5 AP, d6 damage a pop. He can one-shot knights. I've seen it happen. It's actually insane. So combined, you have a really awesome shooting platform. But then the bread and butter of the Orcs is where it all comes together. The basic Orc boys. There's probably not a better 7-point model in the game than an Orc boy. You can make him shooters for 2 shots each at strength 4 and 18 inches, again with the Daka rule, getting exploding 6s to hit, or give him choppers and sluggers to just get them additional attack. Orcs start with 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s at strength 4. With a chop and slugger, there'll be 3. If the unit has 20 or more models in it and then go up to 30, it'll have 4 attacks each. And you can cast Warpath on it from your Weird Boys to get them up to 5 attacks per guy. You can have a unit of Orcs charge into something and just absolutely decimate it almost no matter what it is. Not only that, but they're cheap. You can have units of 30 of them for 210 points. Most Orc lists will run 90 to 120, just basic boys to support their Lootas, their Grots, and their custom Sag Big Mech. Not only that, they have an awesome stratagem. Once per game, the Green Tide. It costs 3 command points, but you could take a very depleted Orc unit. Let's say it was a 30-man, got shot up, been in the fight, and you had a couple guys survive, you got 5 left. Now, you can spend 3 command points at the end of your movement phase to replenish the whole squad. 25 more Orcs come back to life and appear anywhere you want within 6 of the board edge and 9 inches away from the enemy. Not only that, but you can deep strike Orcs for 2 command points or jump them around the table with the teleporting power of your Weird Boy. There's this power called the Jump. Cast on a 6, Orcs get +1 to cast for every 10 Orcs within 1 inch of them to a maximum of 3. That means they'll get probably +3 to cast if you're doing your Orc Horde right. So Orc powers are amazingly reliable. Teleporting 30 Orcs across table. If they're Evil Sons Orcs, which they probably want to be, they get +1 to advance and charge rolls. And they can launch 8-inch rerollable charges with Here We Go. Here We Go is a special rule that lets them reroll 1 or both dice on their charge rolls. So you can make very reliable charges. I think that averages out to about 70% success rate for 8-inch rerollables. And jump around the board with 5 attacks each, charging in and obliterating the opponent, while pushing up with the other 90 boys you're bringing, just running up the table the old-fashioned way. If you take a Warboss, which you're also going to take, you can break the heads of your nearby Orcs. So if they are taking heavy casualties, instead of dying and losing 15 boys to morale, you can just kill D3 and pretend you passed the morale check. Not only that, but the Warboss will allow you to advance and charge. So remember how I said Evil Sons boys can add 1 to their advance and charge rolls? Your basic Orc has a movement value of 5. When you advance and charge it, it can advance and charge to the Warboss. It'll basically have a movement value of 7, is how you can think about it, and charge 3d6, adding your advance and your charge rolls together. That means your average charge roll for this basic infantry Orc unit is going to be 17 to 18 inches, and it has a potential threat range of 13 plus 2d6, 25 inches. That's absolutely insanity. For a basic infantry unit, you're not going to find better point for point. For your Warboss, you're pretty much always going to want to buy the Dead Killer Claw. That's a power claw, that's a special relic. It does flat 3 damage instead of D3. Amazing to remove those inconsistent D3 damage rolls. Flat -3 does not suffer the hit modifier that most power claws do, so it's always going to be hitting on 2s on your Warboss, and it rerolls to wound. So you can combine that with a Warlord trait, Brutal but Cunning, and then you have a Warboss with 4 attacks, rerolling 1s to hit, hitting on 2s, strength a ton, probably wounding on 2s, rerolling to wound, -3 damage and -3 AP, and flat 4 damage for his claw and his Warlord trait. That's insane. You can then combine it with a Psychic Power from your Weird Boy to cast Fist of Gork on him to give you +2 strength and +2 attacks. So he'll have 6 attack space, 7 if you Warpath him, hitting on 2s rerolling, wounding on 2s rerolling, -3 AP and 4 damage flat. I've had Warbosses 1-round knights, fight twice, 1 round another night, and now you've killed 2 knights in 1 turn with just your Warboss. It's absolutely disgusting. You can even, if you want to go nuts with it, pile into a 3rd knight, get your butt kicked, get your Warboss stepped on, and fight when you die and kill a 3rd knight. It just doesn't get any better than that. So those are the best units for Orcs in Warhammer 40,000.